Good evening and welcome to eNews. I'm Shahan Ramkisoon. It's great to have you with us. Our top stories tonight. 157 people have died in a plane crash in Nairobi, Kenya. Officials say no South Africans were on board. A damning report finds former President Jacob Zuma and some ministers used the State Security Agency for their own personal and political interests. Our top story, no South Africans were on board the Ethiopian Airlines jet that crashed this morning. According to the airline, no one survived. It's believed the plane was carrying 149 passengers and 8 crew members. Contact with the Boeing 737 was lost minutes into the flight. The plane was traveling to Nairobi, Kenya. State-owned Ethiopian Airlines is one of the biggest carriers on the continent by fleet size. Reports say more than 30 nationalities were on board flight ET-302. Now, shocked relatives describe what happened when they heard the plane crashed.
So when we arrived, we looked at the board of arrivals. We found that the plane had touched down on time. That is what they were indicating on the board. So we were comfortable just waiting. We see people coming out. We were sure our relative was going to come out. After a few minutes, we saw some news on Facebook and Twitter just flying Ethiopian Airlines crashes. And when we look at the time, it was the same time he was actually to leave Ethiopia.
Aviation expert Guy Leach says it's disappointing that a Boeing 737 MAX has crashed. He says it's one of the strongest jets, and South Africa took delivery of one just last week.
Additional signs from the radar returns that we can see show that airspeed and altitude were not regular or not consistent with what would be expected. So again, it would suggest possibly at this stage very early to tell problems with this auto-trim system. It's very bad news for Boeing, and it's very bad news for customers of Boeing 737 MAXs, of which the very first one has just been delivered to South Africa this past week.
The ANC says it'll support the recommendations of a report into operations at the State Security Agency. But the governing party says it's too early to respond to the issue of its members who are implicated. The report alleges the agency was used to fight factional battles under former President Jacob Zuma. A high-level panel found structures were created to serve the personal and political interests of Zuma and some ministers. Govan Whittles has the details.
2 former state security ministers who apparently presided over a state of lawlessness in the agency. One of them says his hands are clean.
I will not go into instances where you want us to talk about names. The report does not mention names. Therefore, any attempt to try to assume this and assume that will not venture into that. The most important thing is that the ANC support the work.
The other says it's too early to respond, except on principle.
We are not coming here to discuss government things. We are coming here to discuss what is the promise of the African National Congress. But it's just as a matter of record that when we are deployed in any environment, when we find something wrong or illegal, we stop it. We can end there at this stage.
The ANC has welcomed the report and promises to implement its recommendations.
Government is very determined to implement the recommendations. If given one of the recommendations is to do a legislative review, the comrades in government will do that.
The report's been forwarded to President Cyril Ramaphosa, who's expected to announce his next course of action soon. Govan Whittles, Johannesburg.
Some residents in Kanyamazane in Mpumalanga are threatening not to vote in the May election. That's because their houses have still not been repaired after being damaged by a hailstorm early last year. ANC President Cyril Ramaphosa campaigned in the area earlier today. Here's what some of the residents had to say.
Ngeke solo ngiticinzetela solo ngiya tukwendo ngibona ukuthi ayingende lutho ngamane ngihlale vele ngathi ukuthi vele lokuhlala kwami kuyafanana ngiyako vote angikuyafanana futhi into labangendela yona.
I am from this area. Ngihlala nayo indlu nayo. Indlu itsilike isilingi kude. Makuna imvula singenelwa imvula phakathi endlini embhedeni imbhedo yanethu. Funa size sime ekhoneni siphakamise imibhede. Asinama wardrobe, asinaditulo. President ufike wahlala nje esitulweni lesigamukile naso. Akakangenanga ukuthi abuke le ndlu yonke ukuthi injani. Ufike wahlala straight edining room kuphela.
Yeah, bamngenisa kula makhaya. Lawa la ngathi right bamngenisa kuma big house. Kufana nalendlo le. Uyayibona? Since last May. Solo le ndlo nisona sithi siyakhuluma bathi kufuneka abanikade. Singayikhulumeli. Uyakubona? Nyalo bavale lo mgwaqo lo ya udamejekile ngoba ukuthi president bawuvala bawufihla usimoto tingahambi ukuze angawuboni. Mara nyalo ba campaign abasine siyovota. Sawuvota kanjani kube indoda ethi abafuna ukulungisa.
Water is fast becoming the political hot potato in the nation's capital. Substandard drinking water has been the reality for thousands of Hammanskraal residents for years now. The DA-led Metro says it's been able to turn things around and supply residents with safe drinking water. But Gauteng Premier David Makura says he's not convinced. Leranzu Temba reports.
To drink or not to drink? That's the question Hammanskraal residents continue to grapple with every day, as doubts remain on the quality of their drinking water. The politicians, on the other hand, are merely lobbying and trying to see how they can best use the situation in their favor.
The people of Hammanskraal still don't have clean water. The water they're drinking here is still dirty.
I am quite confident that the water that the people are...
Residents complain about the color and smell of the water. These pensioners have lived in this community since the late 1960s. They say water has always been an issue. But despite numerous promises over the years, not much has changed.
End of January,
they are fast losing hope. They are fast losing hope of ever having access to clean drinking water in their lifetime. While many households have water storage tanks, many others are forced to queue for water supplied by the city from these tankers.
You just have to spring out of the bed if you are taking a nap and rush for these buckets. And so you find that it's about 500 meters away from you. And you should whistle to let somebody make it stop. Otherwise you lose water for the day or for the week.
Dawo says the city of Tshwane has pumped 3 billion rand so far in addressing the water shortage and quality. And to the residents, even more promises.
I can promise that we are going to resolve the water woes of people of Hammanskraal, and by June it will be resolved.
For the Mutles, it's yet another promise that will probably go down the drain.
So they're using that as a stepping stone, the promise as a stepping stone to make us get excited and deposit our votes for them.
Leranzu Temba, Pretoria.
Coming up, a story of hope from the slums of Kampala. A chess academy is helping teach impoverished and disabled children the skills needed to find jobs. Welcome back. The Inkatha Freedom Party is calling for the reinstatement of the death penalty to deter violent crimes. Mangosuthu Buthelezi launched his party's election manifesto in Chatsworth, Durban. The country's fourth largest party is relying on its old slogan, Trust Us. The IFP is setting its sights on reclaiming KwaZulu-Natal and increasing its national footprint after the May 8th election. Its veteran leader says they have a proven track record of good governance and are ready to step in and lead South Africa.
Trust us to get the economy working, and trust us to promote social cohesion. Trust us to be tough on crime, and trust us to fight gender-based violence. Trust us to promote responsible land reform, and trust us to fix the education system. Trust us to improve the healthcare system, and trust us to protect the environment.
Now, polio is a viral illness that causes nerve injuries and often leads to paralysis and sometimes death. It's preventable, but some parents fail to take their children for the necessary vaccinations. Dr. Colleen Saunders from the Helen Joseph Hospital is a polio survivor. She spoke to our reporter.
Dr. Colleen Saunders is the head of the polio clinic at Johannesburg's Helen Joseph Hospital. When she was 10 months old, she contracted polio and it paralyzed her from the waist down. And despite her daily struggles, she never lets anything get her down.
Every challenge in my life I see as a means to grow. I'm very strong-willed. And if you say to me, no, that's the one word you mustn't say to me, because that is when I am going to prove you wrong.
Dr. Saunders says polio is preventable.
Being a viral illness, there's no antibiotics that can cure it as it is. So the major preventative measure for polio is vaccination. And you know, I always encourage parents not to renege or not to default on their kids' vaccinations, because it's there for a reason and it's there to protect us.
So is that what your issue is?
Future doctors often turn to her for advice whenever they need guidance in dealing with their own patients, and she enjoys mentoring them and sharing her experiences in the medical field. But she has one pet peeve.
We have a lot to offer as people with special needs. You know, we have potential. Work through your own prejudices. And the one big gripe I have is don't park in disabled parkings. I think people think because that disabled parking is standing vacant, nobody uses it. Yes, we do drive cars. Yes, we are independent. Yes, we need those parkings. And so please, guys, don't park in the disabled parking.
Dr. Saunders also does motivational talks and enjoys writing poetry. Johannesburg.
Now for this story of hope. A chess academy in Uganda is helping teach impoverished and disabled children the skills needed to find jobs. It's challenging the notion that chess is only for the elite.
When Mbazira developed polio at 6 months, his prospects looked bleak. In Uganda, disability almost means poverty. But now, at 17, he studies and travels the world thanks to chess.
Before I started to play chess, at home they were not believing in me. They were knowing I'm disabled completely. Like other people, they are going to go on road begging money, so on.
Mbazira won the bronze medal at the World Junior Chess Championship for the disabled in the US. He learned to play at the SOM Chess Academy in Kampala. Here, chess is seen as a way of teaching poor or disabled children critical thinking and key life skills.
Where I want them to go is to see that I can build their self-esteem, to see that their hopes have been inspired and restored, and also to see that they have what to offer in the society. Disability is not a curse, it's not inability.
The most famous player to have developed her skills here is Fiona Mutesi. You might know her by the name Queen of Katwe, the title of the Disney blockbuster inspired by her story. When Robert first started teaching children how to play chess in the Kampala slums, he had one chessboard. Now, the academy has 7 schools across Uganda, providing a unique and much needed opportunity in a country where 2 million live with disabilities.
After the break, your weather details, and then Mozambican national Vincent Kosa is humbled by the praise he's received after a video of him rescuing a young boy went viral. We hear from him after this.
Welcome to the Weather Center, everyone. We are going to head into Monday with thunderstorms going on over parts of eastern South Africa, as well as rain and thunder showers across the Western Cape. Then as we head towards the afternoon hours, the storms over the eastern areas are going to intensify and spread into most areas, with widespread thunderstorms possible for the eastern areas of the Northern Cape, extending down into the southeastern areas. Then in the evening, it will stay pretty stormy for much of our central and eastern South Africa, with isolated rain showers setting in over the Western Cape. So if you are in the Northern Cape on Monday, expect scattered to widespread thunderstorms for the eastern parts of the province. Upington will once again be dry with a high of around 31 degrees. Isolated to scattered thunderstorms are forecast for much of the Western Cape, including around Cape Town, where a high of 25 is forecast for your Monday afternoon. We are going to see scattered to widespread thunderstorms in the Eastern Cape, especially over the eastern sections, with localized flooding possible from Port Alfred through Bishan, East London, into Mthatha, Port St. John's, as well as around Matatiele. Scattered to widespread thunderstorms are also forecast over western KwaZulu-Natal. Localized flooding also possible around Kokstad. Durban should warm to around 27 degrees. We are expecting isolated thunderstorms for the Mpumalanga Highveld, light rain from Mbombela and Skukuza. There will also be a bit of rain, especially in the morning for Tsanidi and Thohoyandou. Otherwise, it will be dry and warm to hot for much of Limpopo. Isolated thunderstorms are forecast for much of the northwest, where highs in the mid to upper 20s are expected. We are also going to see pretty unsettled weather across much of the Free State, where highs in the lower to mid 20s are expected. Gauteng is also going to be stormy this Monday. Soweto and Johannesburg peaking at around 26 degrees. Now looking ahead to your Tuesday, thunderstorms are forecast for much of the country. Light rain for the western sections as well as the easternmost parts, but it will be mostly sunny for Gauteng with highs in the upper 20s. Then on Wednesday, it will be dry and warm to hot for much of the country.
And finally, the man who rescued a child from a pipeline in Alexandra along the Yixkay River says it was God at work. Vincent Khosa continues to be praised for his act of bravery. The moment was captured on video, and the footage has since gone viral. Kailihle Khumalo caught up with him.
Vincent Khosa is a real-life hero. He risked his own life to rescue Mpilo Ngubane from a pipeline which sits above the raging Yixkay River.
So mina nenze risk nama ngazi ukuthi iyini le enzile kubenene iyanipusha ukuthi no lo mntana kumele ni risk life yami ukuthi niyamnceda. So bade ikhona le sometimes ngizoshala ukuthi uNkulunkulu uniphushile ukuthi no lo mntana kumele umsiza risk.
The modest Mozambican national lives in this area and hasn't quite come to terms with his newly found fame. Children in this neighborhood can often be found playing on the pipeline, and young Mpilo's mother is breathing a sigh of relief.
Ngizizwa ngijabulile uMpilo makakhona, because if bekungasu ubut Vincent angazi ukuthi ngabe kwenzakaleni.
Good Samaritans have expressed gratitude to Khosa, but he has yet to land any tangible opportunities. The hero of Alexandra is awaiting to replace his lost passport. He's currently in the country without valid documentation. Kailihle Khumalo, Alexandra, Johannesburg.
Here's a reminder of our top stories before we go. 157 people have died in a plane crash in Nairobi, Kenya. Officials say no South Africans were on board. And a damning report finds former President Jacob Zuma and some ministers used the State Security Agency for their own personal and political interests. From me, Shahan Ramkisoon, and the rest of the team, take care and thanks for watching.